Welcome to the FemiNinja Project. I am your host, Cheryl Ilove, middle-aged ninja hiding in plain sight, dedicated to restoring human dignity one person at a time and helping you unleash your personal power. Discover that it's possible to look like a woman, act like a lady, move like a ninja, and think like a warrior. And remember, men are always welcome on the FemiNinja Project. Welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And I love being able to share information with my listeners of really what's out there, some of the things that you can do if you're looking to change your life in one way or another, whether it's maybe to start a new business or maybe follow your passion or maybe just explore health and wellness and fitness in a way that you never had before. So today's guest is an amazing woman. Her name is Reena Vokoun, and she is a mom, entrepreneur, and she left corporate America to open up her own business. She is the founder and owner of Passion Fit. So Reena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cheryl. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you, and it's so wonderful to hear your voice again because it's been a while since I've talked to you last.
It has. I know. Likewise, Cheryl.
So you have a lifelong passion for health and wellness and fitness. So what was it that made you leave corporate America to start your own business?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I did work in corporate America for many years of my career, about 18 years. I come from a marketing and business development and sales background. I studied marketing and advertising in college and graduate school. And having worked for a lot of large Fortune 500 companies like Google and Yahoo and Reebok, GE, CNET, and a startup called Grokr,
Wow.
I just hit a point. It was a really wonderful experience, a wonderful career in corporate America. And I just hit a place in my life and in my career where I thought it was time to make some changes. This was after my husband and I had our second son. We have two boys who are now 9 and 12.
Mm-hmm.
But at this time, when I was contemplating making these changes, my older one was a toddler and my little one was a baby at the time. And as you mentioned, I've had this lifelong passion for health and wellness. Was teaching fitness classes starting as a freshman in college. Throughout my college career, I taught fitness classes in graduate school. I've been dancing my whole life. Starting with ballet training when I was 7. Did cheerleading and dance team in high school, and was always into things like nutrition and healthy eating. Mindfulness and things like that. The mindfulness really came from being first generation born Indian American, and yoga and meditation really came from my culture. So I had this passion and this love, but then I also had this professional career going on, and then I became a mother, and I was able throughout most of my teenage and adult life, throughout my childhood, to kind of focus on my health and well-being. And I always knew that was an important way to be at your best and to be successful in your life, is to also take care of your wellness and your health. But I did hit a point after becoming a mother and working full-time at Google. My husband was at Google at the same time as me, and he's still there today. But he and I were both working there, and in very high-stress jobs here in Silicon Valley, in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the tech industry, it can really get you to experience a period of burnout or a long period of burnout. And I went through that. I definitely hit a point with the two children, trying to work crazy hours, be there for them. I was traveling. My husband was traveling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was hard.
How did you travel when your kids were that young?
Well, we always made sure that one of us was always home. So if he was gone on a business trip, I was obviously with the kids, but I was solo, trying to manage everything. And then vice versa for him. We were fortunate that Google has a phenomenal children's center. So they have like a very nice daycare with wonderful, very trained, educated educators and teachers. So we had that for them during the day when we were at work. And I did work from home, 1 or 2 days a week. So I had some flexibility, but your work never ends, at 5 o'clock or whenever you leave the
Right.
office, especially in the tech space. And so I found that I was burning the midnight oil. I was working late, getting up early. Then you're changing diapers and
Oh.
focusing on potty training and
Oh.
and then you have to present to a client and you need to be buttoned up for that. And so, we were kind of hanging on by a thread. We were trying to make it work. We didn't have, like, both of our parents don't live right in this area. So we didn't have grandparent help or anything like that. And so it got to be hard, and it was starting to affect my sleep, my husband's as well. I was stressed all the time. I was anxious. I felt like I was failing. And it was really hard. And my husband, he developed some health issues and had to take a couple of medical leaves. And so
Oh,
finally, I just thought something's got to change. Like, this is
yeah.
not sustainable. And most importantly, I didn't want our stress to affect our children and rub off on them. And even as young as they were, children are smart and very perceptive, and they can absorb stress when it's coming from their parents. And so then I kind of, and the ironic thing is, during this time, I really lost sight of, the health and well-being that I always valued so much. And so I think I started to think about, gosh, there's got to be a better way. I'd always wanted to do something professionally with health and wellness, but I wasn't sure how. But I did at one point work for Reebok, and that I worked as a global interactive marketing manager. And that was the
Oh,
first time.
wow.
Yeah, it was such a cool job. I'd always been a huge fan of Reebok, athletic wear and shoes, because of being in the fitness industry. And I was able to work for them for a couple of years when we were living out in the Boston area, when my husband and I were both in graduate school. And that was the first time in my career that I thought, wow, I could actually combine my, marketing background and advertising background with health and fitness. And so I kind of always remembered that experience. And while I wasn't able to stay with Reebok forever, because we ended up leaving Boston to come back to the Bay Area in California, and that's kind of when I got into working for more of the digital media tech companies. But I always remembered how fulfilled I felt. And so that's where I kind of started to get these ideas for my company, Passion Fit. And I would lie awake in bed and think, gosh, maybe I should take a leap and start my own company. And so that's what I did in 2014. And the other kind of ironic part about this that, Cheryl, I don't know that you and I have talked about, is that my grandfather on my mom's side, so my maternal grandfather, who was my last living grandparent, the year that I left Google to start Passion Fit, he actually passed away on my birthday.
Oh,
Just heart-wrenching. And he was the one person in our family that had always, seen my love and my passion for health and wellness. And he really encouraged me. And he had always said, someday I could see you doing something with this and maybe having a second career. And my parents were always supportive, but I think being immigrants, as you can relate from your family as well, they really valued stable careers,
yes.
working for large companies. And so they, at first, when I mentioned my idea of starting my company, Passion Fit, they were a little concerned. And, my dad especially, had said, you've worked so hard, you've gone to college, to graduate school, you've been working in corporate America for so long, like, do you really want to walk away from that? And eventually, my parents, my husband, my whole family became very supportive of me doing it. But I would say the one person who never wavered on his support for this was my grandfather. So
Oh,
that really hit me hard. And, I think when I was leaving to kind of pursue this path, it was this feeling of, I need to do this for him, for
oh.
myself too, but for him, because he envisioned this for me. And I want to live up to the potential that he saw in me.
So let
So
me ask you this. When you
yeah.
were making this transition, even though you knew in your heart it was the right thing to do, and at least you had his support, behind you, was there a certain amount of fear for you walking away from a stable job and into the unknown?
Yes, so much fear. I can't even tell you how much fear.
No,
Um,
I understand, because I understand.
Yeah, because you've gone through something similar. Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
it's this one of the scariest, riskiest things I've ever done, not only in my career, but really in my life. I didn't have any reason to leave. I mean, yes, I experienced the burnout and, the work-life balance was tough and all of that, but I had a great job. I loved my team. I had amazing bosses, a very supportive management team. But I think the ironic thing is when I told, because people who really know me, they know about my love for health and wellness and how that's such a big part of who I am. So when I told people, especially my close colleagues and my management team, nobody was surprised. They said, of
Mm-hmm.
course, like this makes sense. This is something you've talked about and something that you've always had an interest and a passion for. So go for it, and they told me you can always come back. If you ever wanted to come back to Google, if this doesn't work out, then you have that option, but you don't want to regret not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that overtook the fear, because the fear of not ever having realized this dream, I think would have been just more detrimental than never trying it at all.
So
So
it was the idea that you could come back. Is that how you dealt with the fear then, or overcame it because you knew that you did have something to fall back on?
to partially, yes. I mean, always knowing that you have something to fall back on does help. Just because I've always been, pretty conservative with my career, and I always would make sure that I never left a job before I had another one lined up, and
Right.
really made sure that I, try to do my best and have a strong resume and all those things. But I think the greater thing that was motivating for me was I had so much conviction and so much passion for wanting to do this that it became bigger than myself. It was about
Nice.
helping other people. It was about making an impact. It was about finding my voice and being able to put it out into the world. And I looked, at that and I said, I don't want to ever regret not putting it out there. And this is such a strong conviction that's causing me to feel like I have to do this, that it was something I couldn't ignore, because I had sort of shoved it aside for so many years. And I think at that point in my life, I do think timing is everything, and things happen when they're supposed to. And it was roaring so loud for me to go do this that I couldn't ignore it anymore. My husband saw it. I think my family, my friends, everybody saw it. And what's nice is to look back on it. That was almost 6 years ago, and I'm still every bit as passionate about it. I mean, yes, it's been a hard journey. It's like nothing I've ever experienced, but if I had to do it all over again, I absolutely would. And I'm still to this day just as passionate about it as I ever was. And I'm still moving forward with it. And I think anybody who might have thought, oh, this is just a passing phase, maybe she just needs a break from her career. But no, I went both feet in and full-fledgedly went into this, and I'm still in it, and I'm in it for the long haul.
Well, the name of your company pretty much says it all, Passion Fit. And what you just said, a few moments ago, was that you really have a passion for helping people. And I think that's why you're so successful. And I mean, you could hear the energy and the passion in your voice when you talk about it, and wanting to help people. And you've actually done that not only through your business, but through a lot of the other things that you're doing as far as volunteering and other programs that you've got going on as well. But before we talk about that, tell us a little bit more about Passion Fit, about how it works, about the program. I mean, you have a beautiful website and it's very, very clearly stated, but I really want you to be able to share some of that with our listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the mission of Passion Fit is to empower women to flourish both personally and professionally through wellness. So my target audience is comprised of women, many women who are professional, many women who are moms, because I can relate to them, and I understand as women how we often put everyone and everything above ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I want women to be able to have a community. So my vision has always been to create both a local and an online community where women can have fun, they can make friends, they can be supported, and they can be encouraged to reach their dreams and goals. And in my opinion, wellness is at the helm of that, because I saw in my own life that when I was focused on my well-being, I was most successful, not just professionally, but also personally. And when I lost sight of that wellness is when I was the most defeated, and I felt the most unhealthy. I felt the most stress and anxiety, and it really impacted me. And so I really want to help other women. And so I have products, services, and content. The products are an online course that I've created. It's called the 7-Day Work-Life Balance Crash Course. And it's built specifically for women who kind of, maybe experiencing what I went through, and that feeling of burnout and trying to manage their career with their families and not always knowing how best to do it. And a lot of times in trying to do both, it's at the expense of themselves. So it's a really wonderful course. I also have an activewear line that I designed and created, and I have an online boutique. So this was just kind of a fun thing to offer where, women can, buy motivational quoted tank tops and leggings and other workout attire and accessories to really help motivate them to stay active and to move their bodies. I also offer fitness and dance classes, both in person locally, but also over live stream, especially right now in the midst of the global pandemic. Everything has moved to live stream. So I focus on Pilates and yoga. I do HIIT boot camp and strength training, as well as various styles of dance. And these are my signature classes that I have designed and developed myself. And then I have a YouTube channel as well. So in addition to the classes that are live, if you want to, experience workouts or other wellness education on demand, you can go to my YouTube channel where I not only have workouts, but I have holistic wellness videos around things like nutrition and mindfulness and work-life balance. In addition, I do wellness consulting and coaching for small groups as well as individuals. I do speaking engagements for companies, nonprofits, universities, and the media. I offer wellness retreats as well a couple of times a year. And then I blog and write about the topic also. And so I've been doing a lot more writing in all these different areas because I'm trained and certified in health and fitness, nutrition, and behavior change coaching.
Wow. Yeah. When do you sleep?
I do sleep. So that is something that, I do talk a lot with my clients about as well. So I think for me, and it kind of goes back to one of the reasons I left corporate America to start my own company and become an entrepreneur is that I just have more flexibility in how I design and manage my life. So while it sounds like I'm doing a lot of these things and how, you wonder, well, how does she sleep? Well, I think it's good to remember that I do these things in stages. So I've launched each of these products and services 6 months at a time or 1 year at a time over the course of the last 6 years. But I also work around my kids' schedule. I try to coordinate with my husband, and I make sure that I have certain non-negotiables in my life, and sleep is definitely one of them because I know from having experienced insomnia how detrimental it is to your health and your well-being when you're lacking sleep.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yes, I agree. And it's something that it has to be a priority no matter what.
So what would you say to someone who's listening to this and what kind of advice would you give them as far as if they're thinking about an idea, they have an idea for a business or to go out and do something different, what advice could you give them?
Yeah. So my advice would be to, break it up into small pieces because I think sometimes when you want to make a change or start something new, it can often be very overwhelming. And sometimes that overwhelm is what causes people to not pursue it. And so in my mind, if you break it up into little things and maybe take one small step, maybe you start writing, right? Maybe you start, taking some classes in that area that you're interested in. For me, when I was still at Google, I developed the first thing I did was actually I started blogging. So that was kind of the first little project that I started. And then I decided to work with a video production team and start to, create some video content and create a YouTube channel. And those were just little things that I knew that I could sort of start with and put my energies into and then decide, how is this making me feel? Is this something that I want to pursue further? Do I want to build on this or not? And that way you can kind of maybe start something in a less risky way where you're kind of dipping your toe in the water and, getting some comfort with it first, and then you can keep going. And I think if you do that and just take it one step at a time and put one foot in front of the other, that's going to allow you to decide if you really want to full-fledgedly go into something or make that change.
So that's how you started, and it was just simply by blogging.
Yeah, I just started because I knew that I wanted to write. I had a lot of ideas and a lot of things to say. And so I started with the blogging, and then I, started working on the YouTube channel. And part of what I wanted to do was I wanted to see if there was a need out in the market and out in the world for what I was putting out there, because that way I could also figure out, okay, if there's an audience, if there are people that really can benefit from this and that I can help and support, that's just going to give me the motivation to kind of keep building on it. And then I was also able to get feedback to see, okay, how is this helping or supporting other people? How could I tweak this or make this a little bit different to serve people in this way? And I've continued to do that, to be honest, with every new thing that I've put out for my company. I get feedback from my clients and my students, because I always want to make sure that what I'm putting out there is going to be helpful and useful for people. And just because it's based off of my own experiences doesn't always mean that that's going to help somebody else, but I'd like to think that, some form of it can.
Mm-hmm. So when you did start the company, did you
Mhm.
ever imagine it would get to the point where you're at right now?
Yes and no. I did create a 3 to 5 year business plan. That is the business person in me. And I always joke that my dad, even though I was a grown woman and a mother and a wife, he said, before you walk away from Google, I want you to put together a business plan so that I can see what your plans are. What's your vision? So some of the things, actually all of the things that I'm doing, they were always originally part of the plan. So I think what's good is that I knew what I wanted to do and I haven't wavered from that. I'm sure, certain things have expanded and grown in ways that I couldn't have imagined, but I would say some of it I kind of planned. But yeah, I think there's a lot of new opportunities. There's people that I have met and connected with, whether that's clients, business development partners, just people that have come into my life, both personally and professionally, that I may not have been able to imagine. And I just feel like I'm better for it. I've learned a lot about myself. But yeah, I mean, I can't, I don't know that I knew it was going to be what it is now. And I'm excited to see what it'll be in the next 6 years, in the next 6 years.
Was it always smooth sailing?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
So what about the rough patches, and how did you handle them, or how did, I'm sure you never got discouraged to the point where you wanted to quit, or did you?
No, I mean, I'll be honest. I've had days where I've questioned, like, oh, am I doing the right thing? Did I, make the right decision by walking away from my career? I've certainly had those moments. I think those moments come on the days where you feel like you're failing or something that you really wanted didn't go through. So yeah, I think when you're an entrepreneur, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of rejection that comes. You put out a product, or you plan an event, or you put something out there and you get no responses or nobody shows up. I've had plenty of those things in the last 6 years. Or the people that show up are your best friends, or your mom calls in, right? It's
Yeah.
like, who your people are in those moments. But I think what I got better at from that is not being afraid to still put myself out there. I think once you know what that's like to put something out there and then hear crickets chirping and there's no one, there's no audience, that the first time that happens, it can be very defeating and very scary, and you start to question yourself. But I think if you set out to do something that you truly believe in and you truly know that you have the ability to make an impact on people, then you're going to keep going. It's like, okay, well, maybe I just didn't have the right offering, or I didn't reach the right audience, but I just need to tweak some things. But, ultimately, I know that what I have to offer, my talents and my gifts to put out into the world, it's going to be worth it for somebody. And even if it's one person, it'll be worth it. And I
Yeah.
think I had to keep telling myself that, and I had to just continue to build up my own confidence, even in times where I felt the least confident, because if you don't believe in yourself, especially as an entrepreneur, no one's going to believe in you. You
And you
have to.
also do have to develop a pretty thick skin.
You do. Yes, I agree. And that is something that also, I think I'm very, what's the right word? I'm very trusting. I'm, from the Midwest. I'm,
Oh,
the youngest of my family. So I'm just very trusting. I can be naive. I can be very, just giving, giving, giving. And I don't want to ever lose that, because that's who I am. And I'm proud of that. But I have had to learn to just, to be careful, and to just to understand what you're doing and what the the environment around you is like, and just, not necessarily stop doing what you're doing, but just have a lot more thought behind it. And
And a
that's,
sense of awareness of what's going on around you. Yep.
absolutely.
So you also are very active in volunteering.
Yes. Yes, I am. I am currently, I was nominated at the end of last year for a campaign running this year. It's called Woman of the Year, and there's a Man of the Year equivalent, Silicon Valley, for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And so I am currently fundraising for blood cancer research.
Mm.
And we have 2 children who are honorees. Their names are Liam and Giselle, and they're 6 and 8-year-olds who have fought, have had a rough fight with leukemia, and they're alive and well, but there's still impacts that have been had on them for their lifelong health. And so the research for this campaign is to not only honor them and others who are survivors or who are still fighting, but to promote research so that even if people do fight the disease, they can also have the ability to deal with other health issues, secondary health issues that become a part of their life after fighting cancers. So I just feel very passionate about this cause for a couple of reasons. One, I'm so focused on health and wellness with Passion Fit, and my focus is on disease prevention and management as well. I also, being a mother of my 2 boys whom I love so much, I love kids, and nothing breaks my heart more than seeing children who, whether they're born into a disease or they develop a disease, but you think these kids are the next generation, they're our future, and some of these kids are fighting for their lives. And so I've always done a lot of volunteer work supporting children, especially in the areas of health and disease prevention. And I also have fundraised for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the past because my husband and I did team in training. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but they partner with LLS, and they do, marathons and half marathons and triathlons and different events where you basically train for these events, but then you run or compete in honor of survivors, and you fundraise for the cause. So my husband and I ran the Portland Marathon many, many years ago, and we fundraised for LLS. So as an alumni, it was really cool that I was nominated to go do this, and I felt really compelled to do it.
So the campaign started at the end of the year, is that correct?
So I was nominated at the end of the year. The campaign kicked off on February 20th of this year of 2020.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be a 10-week campaign. So actually May 1st, this Friday, was supposed to be the end of the campaign. But due to the global pandemic, obviously things had to change, and a lot of elements of the campaign, whether that be corporate sponsorships or planning events and working with a lot of groups to donate auction items, a lot of that kind of came to a halt because businesses are shutting down. We're in not only a global pandemic, but also an economic crisis. So we've decided to extend the campaign until the end of July. So it's still running. And you can donate, and all of the proceeds will, go towards LLS. About 70% of it goes towards the patients and their families.
Wow.
And all of that, which is a very high number. For most charities don't necessarily give 70% to that, but the other 30% just goes for administrative overhead to run LLS.
Okay.
So it's a fantastic cause. And,
okay, great. Yeah. And we have the link on the podcast episode that will be on the website too, so people can just click onto that so they can donate right there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I lost both my parents to leukemia, so the disease is pretty devastating. I couldn't imagine, having a child go through that. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you're doing.
Of course. And I'm so sorry for your loss. And yes, I remember when we talked, you had mentioned that you had a very personal connection to the cause as well.
So there's also some other things that you do. You're a facilitator for a women's group. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm a women in management facilitator at Stanford University for their graduate school of business. So I get assigned to a cohort of MBA students who are women, and my job as a facilitator is just to work with them and their fellow MBA students within this group to just help them to navigate life while they're in business school, both personally and professionally. I think a lot of women, being at such an amazing world-class university, you kind of feel like you always have to be perfect and you always have to be on. And I think it's easy to, go through things like imposter syndrome. And so it's kind of breaking it down and giving them a safe place to, really express what they're going through, to be their true authentic selves, and just to know that they're supported, again, both personally and professionally while they're going through this experience. So it's just a really rich and rewarding, thing that I do. It's another little part-time job for Stanford. And I was really honored to be a part of this community of other women. So there's almost 30 of us who are facilitators, and we work with these cohorts of students throughout their 2 years at the School of Business. And wellness factors into a lot of our discussions as well. So
I'm sure they love you.
Oh, well, I love them just as much. So I'm very
Oh,
lucky to get to work with these women. My first cohort is graduating in May, and so I'm going to miss them, but I know that we'll all stay in touch, and it's just been wonderful to see them grow through this experience.
oh, that's great. Do you feel like a proud mama?
I do. I do feel like a proud mama. Yes, these are amazing women. So
That's
it's been a
great.
great experience. Yeah.
So how can people get a hold of you? I mean, this information will be there on the episode, but just go ahead and tell us how people can find you online.
Absolutely. So my website is simple. It's just passionfit.com. So PASSIONFIT, which is one word.com. I'm also on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube and Twitter. And my social media handle for all of them is at PassionFit LLC. And then I would love to kind of give a free offer to your listeners. So if you go to passionfit.com/offers, if you're interested, you can sign up for my free newsletter. And when you do that, you'll actually get a free 45-minute total body sculpt workout video that will be delivered directly to your inbox. And then throughout, that series of emails, you'll get other, articles, videos, wellness worksheets, and things that are just some other special gifts. And if you're interested in working with me in any capacity, whether that be coaching, consulting, classes, my course, or anything else, don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach me just at Reena, REENA, at passionfit.com.
Is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with? Any pearls of wisdom or any advice, just general?
Absolutely. So I always love to kind of quote the motto of Passion Fit, which is pursue your passions, be fit, and the rest will follow. And when I say be fit, I mean not just physically fit, but mentally fit, emotionally, spiritually, whatever things are important to you to be at your best. But I truly believe that if you focus on things that you're passionate about, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your job and go start a company. It could even be just, inviting those things into your life, whether that's taking a painting class or dancing or you always talk about martial arts, Cheryl, like, finding something that really lights you up. If you have that in your life and you're taking care of your well-being, I truly feel like other things will fall into place, and that's where the rest will follow comes. So that would be my advice. Pursue your passions, be fit, and the rest will follow.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. You just truly are an amazing person. I mean, you're
Oh my
so
goodness.
energized, you're so passionate, and you just, have so much going on. It's just it's an inspiration, really. And it's an honor to have you on the show. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for your kind words. And I feel the same about you, Cheryl. So it's an honor to be your guest and to talk to you today. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And to my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. And remember just to follow your passion, stay fit, because that is the way of the FemiNinja. And that's a wrap on another episode of the FemiNinja Project. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, be safe, be strong, and until next time, bye now.